What is going on, Arizona sports fan family? How are we doing out here today on this lovely Thursday morning, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I know this is a completely different time that I'm going streaming, ladies and gentlemen, but this wasn't supposed to be planned, y'all. I was trying to take a week off of podcasting, or at least, the Monday to Thursday podcast at 10:30 a.m. I was trying to take a week off because obviously the bye week, and there's not very much to talk about pertaining to the Arizona Cardinals. And if you guys don't know right now, we actually have a team that's winning in the Phoenix Suns. And a lot of people want to focus on the Phoenix Suns, and I'm right there with you, ladies and gentlemen. I am glued into the TV and really seeing what Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton is doing and everybody else that we have over there. So definitely shout out to the Phoenix Suns, man. I would rather be talking about them, but obviously this is the Arizona Sports Fan YouTube channel where we mainly focus on the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously in the offseason, we reassess and we kind of, figure out what we need to do from there. But we do got some things to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to people that are currently in the chat. We got Vince, we got Bird Gang, we got King Rock, Nick, Caden. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you for coming through. I see you there, MMVV. What's up, brother? Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We got a fun-filled show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for rocking with me. I definitely do appreciate it. I know you guys could be doing many other things in your life right now, and you're, dedicating at least, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or up to an hour to watch this podcast. So I appreciate you guys for doing so. Now, we have a lot to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys don't have the Twitter world, boy, let me tell you right now, it might be worth it because of the drama that we ended up having yesterday with Patrick Peterson and Kyler Murray. So I'm going to go ahead and fill you in pertaining to what Patrick Peterson said, my thoughts on what Patrick Peterson said, and also like what he said about Kyler Murray, right? Because it wasn't specifically just about Kyler Murray, but he actually did talk about Steve Keim, and I want to kind of, dive into that as well. And I think a lot of people obviously focused on the Kyler Murray segment, which was literally 5 seconds of the 1 minute clip. But I want to make sure that, you guys were fully aware of exactly what he said and my thoughts pertaining to, what he said on his podcast and all things covered. So let's do this quick due diligence. I know, every Thursday or at least the Thursdays after the Hard Knocks, I like to recap it. But ladies and gentlemen, like if you guys don't have HBO, you're really not missing anything. And I'm being very transparent with you guys here. I'm not sure how much HBO is. I don't actually pay for the subscription myself, but like this Hard Knocks, it's just ain't it, right? It ain't it for me. I guess the best way to recap it is obviously it comes right after the loss of the 49ers, right? The Arizona Cardinals saying a lot of the good things, right? Like everything's in front of us before the 49ers game. And then once we get punched in the mouth, we start, preaching the same things over and over again. Hey, everything's in front of us. We got a very big game in a very short week against the LA Chargers. Now, between that game and the LA Chargers, there was some pretty cool things to kind of, see. You saw Isaiah Simmons and kind of a little bit of, his personality. You ended up seeing DeAndre Hopkins and his personality as well, pertaining to, them doing a food drive for Thanksgiving, which is absolutely huge, right? It's a really cool thing to see big athletes with platforms giving back to the community. And honestly, DeAndre Hopkins comes from very humble roots in terms of, what, at least how he says it, right? So I'm really cool with that. I think it's really awesome that they spent their time, especially in, giving food to the homeless. And, I know that DeAndre Hopkins has a very big ties to domestic violence, obviously to prevent it and to see if they can have, all obviously information for people going through it. So that was pretty cool to see that. They also mentioned, Sean Kugler just a very little bit, like a tad bit. It wasn't to the point where it's like, oh, we got some juicy information, right? Nothing like that. But obviously, Cliff Kingsbury came out and said, hey, I apologize. The coaching staff should know better, stuff like that. And then they kind of segued over to the big storyline of having DeAndre Hopkins as well as Marquise Hollywood Brown together. So that big narrative and big storyline was a big push in that episode. But like I said, after the LA Chargers game, I know it was just the first game with them two together, but like to me, like if I would put it on a scale between 1 and 10, I would put it like at a 6 or 7. Like nothing really kind of wowed me, to be honest with you, having them on the field. And I get it, right? It was the first game. James Conner had a heavy load, which I would rather our offense be kind of shifted to a power heavy or run, heavy offense with James Conner and Kyler Murray, and then having like the play actions. But obviously that's not what Cliff Kingsbury does. But you got to see a little bit of that. And then you got to see a little bit of the LA Chargers game, and we did truly think that we had this game, right? A lot of the Arizona Cardinal fans and the Arizona Cardinal players truly did think that we had this game, but the Chargers ended up going for a 2-point conversion. And From there, we all know what happened, right? The rest is history. And then after that, there was a little segment with, Cliff Kingsbury saying, hey, we have a bye week, but, don't let this sway you. But it's really obvious that the Arizona Cardinals locker room, like, I don't think they even know, like, well, they know that there's really like no other chance here for the Arizona Cardinals, right? Like to get into the playoffs, to squeak to the playoffs. Like we've been hearing and preaching that we're going to be like, we have the team to go on a run. It's just, we find different ways of the Arizona Cardinals losing, right? And I think that's kind of the situation that we found ourselves seeing this Arizona Cardinal team. So just nothing really worked for this year. Obviously, right now we're a 4-8 team. So that's who we are. That's kind of recapping it in a nutshell. I don't want to spend too much time on Hard Knocks because truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, like it's cool, but like if you don't, I guess what I'm saying is don't go out of your way to spend an HBO subscription for it because literally it's not giving us anything that we don't already know. So it's up to you. I'll go ahead and, kind of leave that in your hands if you do choose to do it or not. So now I want to move on over to the big thing that a lot of people want to talk about here, right? Is the Patrick Peterson podcast. Now, yesterday, if you guys don't know, obviously we're in our bye week. There's not really much to talk about, but with this whole juicy news or juicy content, juicy piece that, Patrick Peterson ended up bringing out yesterday, I kind of want to dive into it here and not just focus on the Kyler Murray thing, but I will tell you what Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins said pertaining to Patrick Peterson and his comments. So let's listen in. If you guys haven't already, listen to it, or if you guys haven't watched my video from yesterday, basically this is what I showed you it, but I'm going to do a little bit more detail on this live stream and actually breaking it into segments and what Patrick Peterson ended up saying. So I'm going to go ahead and start this up right now. Just make sure you let me know, everybody, in the comments if you can hear it. I'm starting the audio right now.
Yeah, you think Cliff Kingsbury may be the scapegoat in regards to their struggles? Ain't no maybe. He will. He will be. Yeah, he will be. Uh-huh. He will be. And the crazy thing about it, the guy who hired him will still have a job. Yep. It sounds about right. I initially was thinking that they probably would stick with him because of the contractual agreement he has. But now just seeing how bad they've been, and then they fired the coach after the season, man.
Okay, let's stop right there, ladies and gentlemen. I want to kind of dive into what he just said right there, right? Now, I want to get your guys' take in this whole situation, right? And I appreciate you, Jason. Thank you so very much for telling me that you guys can hear it loud and clear. Thanks a lot. So I want to focus on this real quick. The whole narrative that they're going to be using Cliff Kingsbury as a scapegoat, boy. That right there, honestly, I can see the Arizona Cardinals doing something like this, right? And like I said, I want to get your guys' take on the comments here below, and I'll definitely give you guys shout outs if you guys, obviously put it out there. But man, the moment I heard this, I'm like, damn, Patrick Peterson might be right, ladies and gentlemen. And we talked about this a little last week, right? Or I think it was this Monday when we had our Cliff Kingsbury watch, right? We had a Cliff Kingsbury watch on Monday, and we were hoping that he was going to get fired, or at least somebody was going to be able to, answer for how the season ended up, right? And we didn't see that. So in that podcast, I ended up saying, do you think that Cliff Kingsbury's job is safe because of Steve Keim? Because if you truly think about it right now, if Michael Bidwell decides to cut ties with Cliff Kingsbury, Keim needs to go too, right? I think there's no ifs or buts about it. Like, I think he needs to get cut as well. And I think that might be something where, a lot of fans kind of not choosing this narrative, but like are thinking this way as well. Right now, I do know that Michael Bidwell doesn't like firing coaches midway in the season, right? Like it didn't happen to Steve Wilkes, which it probably should have happened because we were a 3-win team. But then again, it was 1 year compared to Cliff Kingsbury's 4 years. So it's kind of different circumstances in that specific scenario. But the idea of Steve Keim not getting fired, or I'm sorry, Cliff Kingsbury not getting fired to protect the buddy of Steve Keim is a little worrisome to me as an Arizona Cardinal fan, because I can see Michael Bidwell doing something like this. Now, yes, we have 5 games left, right? We absolutely do. Now, I don't think I remember a Arizona Cardinal season where we had 5 games left And we automatically are defeated, right? We automatically don't think we are going to make the playoffs. It's cooked. It's over. Most fans have turned off the Arizona Cardinals. They don't want anything to do with the Cardinals at this very moment. Now, obviously, if you go a little deeper into the Arizona Cardinals history, obviously you're going to find a lot of seasons like that. I mean, like within the last 5 years, right? Within the last 5 years, I don't think I remember a season like this where it's cooked. Like, there's no hope for the Arizona Cardinals at this very moment, and we have 5 games left. So, yes, currently right now we are sitting at 4-8, and technically, if the Arizona Cardinals go on a 5-game winning streak, we can end the season at 9-8. But like, we're not going to do that. Like, the Arizona Cardinals aren't going to go 9-8. Like, sorry, newsflash, news alert, it's not going to happen. The Arizona Cardinals aren't going on a 5-game winning streak. I truly do believe, if we're being generous, they're probably going to win 2 games. Just because of what a lot of this Arizona Cardinals organization is, as well as the Arizona Cardinal, opponents they're going to be playing in the last 5 weeks, right? So I think those opponents have more to fight for than the Arizona Cardinals. Now, yes, obviously we would all love to play spoilers, but like, the Arizona Cardinals usually don't do very well in that circumstance. So the idea of Cliff Kingsbury being the scapegoat and going to get fired at the end of the season and keeping a Steve Keim seems like a realization that it might happen. Now, I don't want it to happen, right? I want both of them to leave and obviously ride with Kyler Murray to see if we can give him a new head coach and kind of figure it out that way. But man, with this whole, words from Patrick Peterson, it kind of leads me to believe that it might happen. Right? It might happen. So I want to make sure I encourage everybody to make sure that your voice is being heard, everybody, that, we don't just want Cliff to be gone, right? We want Keim to be gone as well. Because you imagine Keim with a top 5 pick, with the top 10 pick, getting another linebacker, getting somebody stupid, like, right? Getting a tight end that obviously doesn't look like he's doing very well right now when Ertz is down. So I don't trust Steve Keim with a very high pick right now. I don't. So I don't want him here. Like, I truly don't. But the relationship between him and Michael Bidwell, it's absolutely kind of nauseating, right? It's to the point where we might actually see Cliff Kingsbury being that scapegoat and getting fired, and maybe even Vance Joseph. But the guy who hired him, Steve Keim, is getting another slap on the wrist, but basically allowing him to keep his job. I hope that doesn't happen. I truly, truly hope that doesn't happen. I want the Arizona Cardinals to start new. I want new leadership. I want new. We've only had 1 playoff win since Steve Keim, ladies and gentlemen. Since Steve Keim has been the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals in 10 years. 10 years, we had 1 playoff win, and that was in 2015. 1 playoff win with Steve Keim. What's going to change? What's going to change, right? What's up, Illadre? Appreciate you. Thank you so very much for coming through with the first super chat of the day. He says Keim should have been fired with Wilks. Honestly, I agree with you. This is the situation. My guy here. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a press conference that ended up happening when Steve Wilks did get fired. It was Michael Bidwell and it was Steve Keim there. Now, the media asked him why Steve Keim retained his job, or, this was a fault of, Steve Keim. Michael Bidwell came out and said that he was the one that wanted Steve Wilks. Now, I don't believe Michael Bidwell as far as I can throw him, and I can't throw him very far, right? So I don't believe that it was truly Michael Bidwell that wanted Steve Wilks. It was the Arizona Cardinals that put himself in a crappy situation for prolonging and procrastinating getting a head coach that probably one of their top head coaches already got taken. Right? So I felt like Steve Wilks was almost kind of one of those guys that did good in the interview, but you really didn't want. And I agree. Steve Keim should have gotten fired along with Steve Wilks. He should have packed his bags and gone away. But Michael Bidwell, the owner of the organization, came out and said he was the one that wanted Steve Wilks, and he was taking full responsibility of that. And of course, us, Arizona Cardinal media, Arizona Cardinal fans, we allowed that to slip through. But it's obvious. This pick here was both on Steve Keim as well as Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell. The Cliff Kingsbury hiring should be on both of them. Now, obviously we can't fire Michael Bidwell, right? That's not something that can happen. We can't fire an owner, but we can still very well fire a GM. So this hiring, if it doesn't work in 4 years, I think it's cooked. You had one playoff win in 10 years. It's not enough. It absolutely isn't enough. So I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was a little bit more optimistic 2 weeks ago that we were going to be able to fire Cliff Kingsbury. But now that I know that, Michael Bidwell seems to be sticking to his guns and he might wait till the end of the year. We'll see, right? We'll see. I mean, there's also the possibility that the Arizona Cardinals don't make a move and they use this season as a we were injured type of season. There's also that scenario as well, which I obviously don't want to live in that world as well. But we got to really ask ourselves as Cardinal fans that these might be real life things that could happen as Arizona Cardinal fans, but we can't allow it to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We can't allow it to happen. Please, football gods, don't do this to us. This is more than just injuries on what happened in this season. More than just injuries. So let's continue with the Patrick Peterson podcast. And this is where it's going to be where he actually talks about Kyler Murray. And I'll let you know what Kyler Murray said back as well as DeAndre Hopkins here soon.
Yeah. And he signed an extension last March. But see, just vocally, Kyler Murray is talking about, and I don't like how he's doing that. I think he should keep some things privately, but it tells me he doesn't care about his head coach. And he's putting everything on the head coach, basically saying
Kyler Murray don't care about nobody but Kyler Murray. That's just a matter of the fact.
Well, I gotta. So, I can't argue. I don't know him personally. You played with him for a few years, so I gotta take your word for it. Yeah, you think?
So let's dive into that right there, right? We have a kind of a lot to unfold with that little piece right there with Patrick Peterson. So it first started off by, the other co-host ended up talking about what Kyler Murray ended up saying with that 4th and short play where, Kyler Murray ended up saying that we were systematically effed. And obviously a lot of the media took it like wildfire. They ended up saying things like, oh my God, Kyler Murray is throwing his head coach under the bus, right? This is what Kyler Murray does. He's uncoachable, blah, 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 right? That's what they use for it. So that's what the co-host of the Patrick Peterson show ended up saying pertaining to that. Now, Patrick Peterson comes up and says, Kyler Murray doesn't care about anybody else besides Kyler Murray. Now, that right there is what struck up a conversation amongst a lot of Cardinal fans in the Twitter world, in the social media world, and of course, because we have a lot of Cardinal fans out there that don't believe in Kyler Murray, right? It used that as fuel to their fire to say, hey, we've been hearing it, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't the first time we've heard that Kyler Murray isn't a great leader, doesn't, care about anybody else but himself. And they use those words of Patrick Peterson almost as ammunition against our franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray. Now, in the Hard Knocks episode, you do see Kyler Murray being very vocal, right? Making sure that, the win wants to be there, making sure that all the communication is down. So now, obviously, that's only a glimpse of what we've seen in that game. And I think everybody knows that Hard Knocks is rolling. So maybe a front, I don't know. But that's what Patrick Peterson ended up saying about Kyler Murray. He said, Kyler Murray only cares about Kyler Murray. That's it. And that's what struck up everything in the Twitter world. Now, of course, I do have some screenshots for you guys pertaining to what our athletes ended up saying, I guess in aid of Kyler Murray. Now, I was hoping that we would be getting a little bit more people, right? But we ended up getting DeAndre Hopkins, which, hey, that's a W right there, right? That's a W on its own, as well as Kyler Murray coming back and actually saying something to Patrick Peterson about his words in his podcast. So let's first start off by looking into what DeAndre Hopkins said first. So this is what DeAndre Hopkins said, ladies and gentlemen. He says, you don't kick a man when he's already down. Now, there's no ats, there's no anything like that. It was just, it's obvious to me that this was for Patrick Peterson, right? Coming to the aid for Kyler Murray, this has to be for Patrick Peterson. Now, like I said a little earlier, there's no ats, there's no anything like that pertaining to, can we confirm this is for Patrick Peterson or not? But it honestly seems like he's coming to the aid of Kyler Murray, which is a huge win for Kyler Murray. So not only that, but DeAndre Hopkins also tweeted this as well. He says, you gained attention, but lost respect. Biggs Burke. Now, obviously, guys, if you don't know the Twitter world, if you don't know the social media world, athletes and very big people with like big, platforms, they like to talk in not just riddles, but they like to talk cryptically, right? They like to quote people. They like to say things like something that bugs them, but they have a very easy way out of it. And right here, this actually describes to me something that this is also another shot at Patrick Peterson from DeAndre Hopkins. So yes, he's quoting this guy Biggs Burke, but in the grand scheme of things, you gained attention but lost respect. He's talking about Patrick Peterson, or at least in my mind, he's talking about Patrick Peterson. So I love it. I love it. Come to the aid of your quarterback, because that's honestly what you should be doing. And like I said, I wish there was more people that came out, right? Buda Baker, JJ Watt, stuff like that, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? So we do got our second super chat of the day. We got R. Burr. Appreciate you. Thank you so very much, R. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says this: what Kyler Murray said was taken out of context. He was talking about the play, not the scheme for the game. Patrick Peterson's doing it to get attention. Yeah, we're going to dive into this here as well, because although, yes, I like what Patrick Peterson was saying about Keim, this is kind of where it's like uncharted territory for me, right? Like I'm like, hey, bro, maybe don't talk about your former quarterback in Kyler Murray. So appreciate the super chat, R. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now let's look into see what Kyler said, because Kyler did come back and say this as well. This is what Kyler Murray said on Twitter. Now, he did at Pat P2. He says, this isn't true. You are on some weird SHIT. You got my number. Now, obviously, I think he means his phone number, not the number in terms of him beating him in games. I think he means his phone number. If you really felt like this as a big bro or a mentor, you're supposed to call me and tell me, not drag me on your podcast. Not drag me so your podcast can grow. Woo! I mean, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. He took that the route of, honestly, a very, very mature 25-year-old. I like the way he handled that. I truly do think I love the way that Kyler Murray handled that. Saying, hey, if you truly do believe this about me, that I don't care about anybody else, you should call me. Don't put this on your podcast, because let's be honest, Patrick Peterson is a name. Patrick Peterson has a platform. Patrick Peterson was a great Arizona Cardinal. And I know some people would say he wasn't, but let's be honest. He was one of the first round picks that was an absolute bona fide superstar in the 2010s era. Whether you want to believe it or not, Patrick Peterson was that guy for the Arizona Cardinals. He was one of the first round picks that actually worked for the Arizona Cardinals. So for him to come out and say that, I mean, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Not to the point where I'm like, Patrick Peterson. I mean, I'm never going to be like that. Like, that's not me. I'm not going to call somebody a clown for their opinion. It's their opinion, right? Would I rather him handle it differently? Yeah. Do I think maybe he was trying to use Kyler Murray's name to, gain some momentum on his podcast? Probably. But I mean, truth be told here, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, the Vikings are doing very well this year. They're doing very, very well. And kudos to them, right? I think Patrick Peterson, after the suspension, has been trying to prove his career back. Because let's be honest, once you're tainted with a suspension, with, stuff that you shouldn't be taking, there's a level of taintness that comes onto your career and your record, whether with fans, with organizations. It's the truth. And Patrick Peterson has been longing to get back into the level of, hey, I'm still a great cornerback. He's been making plays, right? I don't think he's still a great cornerback, but yeah, he's been better since he was in the last year with the Arizona Cardinals, because in the last year of the Arizona Cardinals, he wasn't doing very good. And a level of frustration built with the Arizona Cardinal fans that there was somebody that sent in a letter to Michael Bidwell saying that if we sign back Patrick Peterson, he's going to not renew his season tickets. I mean, if that story is truly true, let me write a letter over to Michael Bidwell and say I'm not going to go ahead and renew my season tickets if Steve Keim remains in office. I am not going to renew my season tickets. Signed, John H. Barry. I don't know how true that story is, but if it's very true, let me start writing my letter right now, ladies and gentlemen. I got my pen. I'll start writing my letter. Send it to Michael Bidwell and say I will not renew my season tickets unless Steve Keim gets fired. Signed, John H. Barry. I think we all know something drastically has to happen with this Arizona Cardinal team organization. Something has to happen. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. We've been seeing the stubbornness, right? We've been seeing the stubbornness of what Michael Bidwell is. And because he's trying to protect his buddy and Steve Keim, that's kind of something where obviously we don't want to find ourselves thinking about, because the idea of using Cliff Kingsbury as a scapegoat and not getting rid of the guy who signed Cliff Kingsbury, or even the guy who signed a Sam Bradford, the guy who drafted a Josh Rosen, and all the other slip-ups that, Steve Keim has done, something needs to happen. Something absolutely needs to happen. So there's that. That was the big controversy. That was the big situation that we ended up seeing in the Twitter world, right? We're ended up seeing Patrick Peterson coming out, obviously talking about the Arizona Cardinals again, because honestly, Patrick Peterson has been talking a lot about the Cardinals. We know his hatred. We know his hatred for Steve Keim runs deep. We know it. We absolutely know it. I never thought he was going to kind of say something negatively about our quarterback. I didn't think it was going to get to that level. But, I mean, here we are, right? Here we are. Just trying to enjoy our bye week, ladies and gentlemen. And then we get this big bombshell of a news that Kyler Murray doesn't care about anybody else but Kyler Murray, right? In the quotations of P2. So that's what it is. That's what basically everybody's talking about right there. The podcast between the All Things Cover podcast and what Patrick Peterson has said. DeAndre Hopkins coming to the aid, which, like I said, I love it. I love the idea of him coming up to the aid of Kyler Murray, because if nobody came to the aid of Kyler Murray, then I would be very, very hesitant about the culture in this locker room. Hesitant. Now, would I have rather Budda Baker and J.J. Watt also chime in? Yeah, of course I would. But, I mean, beggars can't be choosers, ladies and gentlemen. Beggars can't be choosers. So, that's the storyline. Let's see what you guys have to say. I know I've been saying that I was going to look into the chat here, ladies and gentlemen, but I went on a tangent. So, let's see what you guys have to say. We got my guy Vic up in here. He says, bro, Hard Knocks show a lot of leadership. I'm assuming you mean towards Kyler. Here's the thing. To me specifically, it's so hard for me to get into a conversation about leadership, right? The Arizona Cardinals, everybody in that organization knows that Hard Knocks is there. Everybody does. I don't trust anything I see in Hard Knocks as a fan. Personally, I don't. Now, yes, did I see some things that I liked about Kyler Murray? Yeah, hell yeah, I do. Yeah, I love it. I love the idea that he's trying to be as involved as, Colt McCoy was. I love it. My main thing is that we know the cameras are running. And I don't trust anything Hard Knocks is putting out on HBO right now. And the biggest reason why I say that is because the big stories that were supposed to be in this Hard Knocks were completely wiped. Wiped from the existence of Hard Knocks. And that right there leaves a sour taste in my mouth as a fan, because we truly know, right? We truly know. And I'm not saying like, let's out there, I'm not saying like, let's expose Michael Bidwell and get him fired because of, him doing some this, and that. I'm not saying that, but I mean, things that the fans should know about, which is the Eno Benjamin storyline. why he was randomly released. And I know we got, speculations, we got sources coming out and saying this, we got sources saying that. But I mean, like, if you want to believe everything you're told in the internet, I mean, that's up to you. Me, I would have loved to see it with my own eyes. If he did truly get, on top of an assistant head coach assistant coach because of his playing time, or if it was truly something else, right? That and the Sean Kugler story. I get it, right? The sources came out and said that the situation of Sean Kugler being released on the spot and on the day because of him groping women. And I'm using this, I'm not saying he's not groping women, but I mean, like, I don't know what groping women means, right? Was it just a constant thing? Was it just a brush? I don't know. I wasn't there in the situation. Obviously, it was bad enough for him to get released and not coach on Monday night. But anything I'm seeing from Hard Knocks, it's very hard for me as an Arizona Cardinal fan to really come out and say, yes, I agree. I saw it with my bare eyes. I agree. Leadership is up the wazoo. Everybody knows that cameras are rolling. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that the cameras were rolling. It's hard for me to sit here and believe anything Hard Knocks is saying because somebody told us that we had the footage, and then somebody came out and said we don't have the footage. So it's like, come on, like, right? Like, bruh, be honest with yourself here, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, yeah, if you choose to believe Kyler Murray's got the leadership skills up the wazoo, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that. I mean, I got nothing positive or negative to say about that. Let's just leave it at that. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. What's up, Mike A? I see you there, brother. He says, all Patrick Peterson said about K1 is that he thinks about himself. He has nothing specific to say like he did about Steve Keim in his little hater letter, Night and Difference. Just a disgruntled ex-employee. So all Patrick Peterson said about K1 is that he thinks about himself. He has nothing specific to say like he did about Keim in his little hater letter. Night and day difference, just a discreet. Yeah, no, and I agree with that too, right? So for me, like, and I know I got a lot of people, reach out to me and saying, well, why are you having a difference, right? Why do you like Patrick Peterson saying things about Keim, but you don't like Patrick Peterson saying things about Cliff Kingsbury? Let's say my bad, Kyler Murray. Wow. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. Rewind. Somebody asked me, why am I okay with Patrick Peterson saying things about Keim, but not about Kyler Murray? So for me, I feel like when you are in the level of the people that you work with day to day, there should be a level of, I guess, respect and a level of communication with them. So because both of them are players, I would hope that Patrick Peterson would tell Kyler Murray up front, right? Hey, I didn't like the way you did this. Hey, I don't like the way you handled this. Hey, blah, 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 blah. Right? Apparently he has his phone number. When it comes to Steve Keim is the man that you really don't see when you have a job, right? Put yourself in the job position. Your manager, the CEO, the director. It's different. It's a different circumstance, at least in my mind. Patrick Peterson had a very specific story. He obviously is a little bitter. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, he's a little bitter about the Arizona Cardinal organization. But he had a story with the top guy, or at least one of the top guys that make very, very top decisions, telling him that he was going to be the future, or at least coming into the future with the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, it didn't shake out the way that it did. There was a little letter that was left in his, in his locker rooms. It's different. It's a different situation. And obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of Steve Keim. He's been in this organization for 10 years. 10 years he's been in this organization. Or at least, I'm sorry, not in the organization. He's been a GM for 10 years. He's been in the organization for a very long time. He's been the GM for 10 years, and he's won one playoff game. So it's like, I think it's time. I think it's time. I truly do. I think it's time. It's time to get a different voice. It's time to get somebody else that has more leadership skills, more people skills. I'm tired of hearing our players being disgruntled, leaving this Arizona Cardinal organization. I'm tired of it, right? whether you truly do believe that Patrick Peterson is a clown, we got to admit that Patrick Peterson was one of the great first-round picks that we had in the 2010s. Anything between 2010 to 2020 was one of the best first-round picks we've had. You got to admit it. And if you can't, then okay, that's fine. You can't admit it. But he's one of the best first-round picks that we had, a bona fide superstar. So, it's kind of where I am. I got my guy Vic saying, let's all write letters. Facts. I'm down. I'm down. Let's all write letters. Sign it, John H. Barry. I'm ready to all sign letters. So everybody's canceling their season tickets if Steve Keim doesn't get fired. Because if that truly does happen, right? If we're living in a world where we don't see Steve Keim leave, man, like what's going to change? What's going to change? I don't know. Personally, I don't know what's going to change, right? I mean, I don't think anything is going to change, to be honest with you. I truly don't believe anything is going to change. Now, somebody asked me about this, that they wanted me to talk about Trey McBride. Y'all, just real quick, what are your guys' thoughts on Trey McBride? And I get it. Just also use the whole, this is his first year, right? This is his first year as an Arizona Cardinal. He's a rookie. But how do you guys truly feel about Trey McBride? Because what Steve Keim said about him, right? Oh my God, I can't believe he was still on the board. Oh my God, I can't believe Trey McBride was still there. I'm not seeing what Steve Keim evaluated, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not seeing at all what Steve Keim has evaluated. So let's talk about Trey McBride right now. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, I was a little upset with this draft pick, right? I think we could have used that draft pick for maybe a offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, somebody in the trenches. I feel like would work a little bit better for that pick as opposed to who we got. But of course, you got to put a smile on your face. You got to kind of ride with the punches and kind of go from, okay, cool. This is who we have. Let's see what happens. Trey McBride wasn't going to get any playing time unless Zach Ertz got hurt. It's the truth of the matter. And what happened? Zach Ertz got hurt. Zach Ertz is no longer going to be in the 2022 season, at least the regular season. He's out. He's out for the entirety of the season. And who's here to take over the spot of Zach Ertz? This man right here. Trey McBride. Now, I don't want to sit here and give any negativity. This guy, I know he's a young guy, right? But this is the problem with if we keep Steve Keim. If we keep Steve Keim, it's going to be the same thing. We're gonna draft players like Trey McBride, which he can be better, right? Next year he can be very well good. He can develop into being a very good tight end one day. It's just not his first year. Or obviously it doesn't look like it's going to be the first year. But we need to get to a level of, we need to be able to get players that can help us year one. And hear me well here, ladies and gentlemen. I understand superstars are very hard to find, right? In the draft. They're so hard to find. And I'm not expecting every round 7 players coming out of the draft to all of them be studs, right? I'm not expecting that. My expectations in the draft is very low, especially because we have Steve Keim as the GM. Now, if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, you see all those draft picks? The Seattle Seahawks have built a roster based on their draft picks. I think they have like 2 or 3 of them that are projected to be more of a project, but most of their draft picks very well worked out for that Seattle Seahawks team. And that's exactly what I would love for this Arizona Cardinal organization. But as of right now, Trey McBride finally got his opportunity, right? Zach Ertz is gone. Trey McBride came in. And Trey McBride, as of right now, has 9 receptions, 46 yards. 9 receptions, 46 yards right now. Now, please keep in mind that he didn't start every game, right? We have a bye week. We had 12 weeks before. And then we're going to go into week 14 is when we get our, that was 12, 13. Okay, so week 14 is we're going to be starting up our new week against the Patriots Monday night. So he hasn't started every game. But being right now that Trey McBride has 9 receptions, 46 yards, not good. Not good at all. Trey McBride actually had, I think, a very crucial drop against the Chargers. One that could have converted a first down, and he dropped the ball. Didn't Steve Keim tell us he had some really good hands on him? Didn't Steve Keim tell us, oh my God, I can't believe he was still on the board? And we got Trey McBride. Because truth of the matter, in the beginning of the season, we had Zach Ertz and we had Max Williams. Now, none of us knew that Max Williams was going to be hurt, released, put in the practice squad. We didn't know that was going to happen, right? We didn't. But why get a player that we know is not going to be playing in the first year? Why? This is the 3rd straight year of it. The 3rd straight year. Happened to Isaiah Simmons, happened to Zaven Collins. Now, both of them are coming into their own. Both of them are doing very, very good. Now, the best thing that we have again for those guys is that they're finally getting reps. But Isaiah Simmons had a redshirt season, which, he came into, he got completely humiliated and he got benched for the rest of the year. Zaven Collins, the same thing. He didn't get humiliated, but he was benched. And now we got, Trey McBride, which obviously didn't start because he wasn't our best tight end. He had to wait for people to get hurt in order for him to get into a starting role, and he doesn't look very good. Doesn't look very good. So, I'm not saying he's a bust, but definitely he's running into some trouble in his rookie year for sure. Definitely running into some trouble for sure in his rookie year because it ain't. We didn't buy, or I guess some people did buy what Steve Keim was selling, but we didn't get what we bought, or I guess what we were sold, we were bought. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so far Trey McBride isn't looking so hot. Now, I see some people in the chat saying, well, when he balls out, yeah, I mean, there's a possibility we got 5 games, right? Trey McBride can very well shut us up, but we're not looking for a 1-game ball out and calling him the best tight end ever. No, right? We're looking into getting a replacement for Zach Ertz. That's who I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a one-hit wonder year. Show me some consistency like Zach Ertz has done. I'm not looking for a 1-game ball out. I'm looking for a year in and year out, bona fide, great tight end option that can do it both. For a 2nd round pick, you better sure as heck be able to block and be a playmaker. I'm not looking for a 1-game ball out. Oh, I put him in my fantasy football league. I beat him. I got 15 points off of Trey McBride. Nah, give me a guy that's going to be the starter for years to come. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a 1-hit wonder. We want consistency. Facts, Ian. Facts. We want consistency. So even if he balls out 1 game, 2 games, doesn't matter. He's got 5 games to show it. He's not going anywhere because he's a 2nd round pick. I'm not saying cut the man. He's a young kid still. He's got a lot of opportunity, a long room to grow, but being a 2nd round pick, I mean, expectations are pretty high for this fan base because of what we know that our draft picks haven't shaken out. So we want to see what they're going to be. He's getting his opportunity. He's got 5 games left. As of right now, he hasn't been wowing a lot of Arizona Cardinal fans. He hasn't been wowing a lot of Arizona Cardinal fans. Let's just put it that way. Now, he's got some time. Absolutely has some time for sure. But as of right now, Ain't trending in the right direction, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just put it that way. Ain't trending in the right direction. Big shout out to everybody that's currently in the chat right now. Thank you so very much, guys. I appreciate it. If you guys haven't done so already, smack the like button on this video. If you are on Facebook or if you are on YouTube, smack the like button. It helps out the algorithm grow. We are on the road to infinity, so definitely subscribe it up, and appreciate you guys. All right, let's continue into the chat here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear what you guys have to say. Let's see what Kyler Murray's 8th year in the league. Cardinal fans still saying he isn't the problem. Well, here's the thing. I mean, honestly, with Kyler Murray is such like a hard topic to talk about, right? It is. It's a very hard topic to talk about. Because I know when you talk about Kyler, we can use a lot of excuses for him, right? It could definitely seem like it. I think the Arizona Cardinals made a very bad decision when we ended up putting a rookie quarterback together and a rookie NFL head coach together. I think we were doomed from the start. We were doomed from the start because literally we were a social experiment. That's what we did. We came into that season in 2019 and saying, let's effing wing it. Cliff Kingsbury kind of looks like Sean McVay. Just kidding. But that's probably the reason why we got Cliff Kingsbury, is because we wanted to find the next offensive guru, right? We're trying to find the next young whippersnapper guy that is a player's coach and is going to get us a ring because he's such an offensive-minded guru. That's what we were told when we got him. So I do agree with what you're saying, right? 4 years is plenty enough time, right? I agree with that. But I do think that the Arizona Cardinals put Kyler Murray in a terrible situation from the jump. Why in the living heck would you get a rookie coming in, and especially an undersized rookie, right? An undersized rookie coming into the NFL, which collegiate to the NFL, it's night and day. They're two different games. And then you're bringing a collegiate coach that hasn't really won anything in college level, but because you labeled him as an offensive guru, you wanted to pair him with a rookie quarterback. I mean, we were doomed from the start. We were doomed from the start. Why Keim and Michael Bidwell, why Michael Bidwell bought what Steve Keim was trying to sell and actually went through with it is beyond me. They probably looked into the eyes of Cliff and they probably fell in love. They probably saw Ryan Gosling and they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. I don't get it. We were doomed from the start. So for me, if we get another head coach and Kyler Murray still remains the same to be exactly the same way, because I'm telling you right now, everybody, my leash is getting shorter with Kyler Murray. And I'm not saying he's on a leash. I'm saying the level of my excuses is coming up very thin. But for me, as an Arizona Cardinal fan, for me being that as long as fan as I am, I don't remember a time where we drafted a quarterback like Kyler Murray and was better than Kyler Murray. We're so used to older veterans that come into this Arizona Cardinal team to help, right? As Cardinal fans, we're not used to the patience. I'm not a good patience guy either. But with Kyler Murray, I've seen flashes. I have. I want to see Kyler Murray with another head coach. If that fails, then at that point, you will hear me scream louder than I possibly can scream. Because right now, the narrative should be get rid of Keim. That's the number one guy on my list. Keim should be gone. Then Cliff. And then if another head coach comes in, hopefully Sean Payton, please. If it doesn't happen and it doesn't work for Kyler Murray, then we know Kyler Murray's the problem. Then we can all get into that narrative of Kyler Murray isn't it. I know people don't want to wait for it. I know people don't, and I understand that. But here's the truth of the nature here, right? Here's the truth of the nature. The Arizona Cardinals put themselves in this situation is much easier to get off a coach and a GM than a player. And I know a lot of people are speaking just based off their emotions right now. If you really look at it, who's going to want to get Kyler Murray? Who's going to give us value for Kyler Murray right now? Who? Kyler Murray's been tainted. Absolutely tainted within the national media. Everybody's bagged on Kyler Murray. Then now nobody is going to want to give us a package that the Arizona Cardinals feel comfortable with trading him away. So, I mean, there's teams that will probably be interested, but will the Arizona Cardinals want to let him go for a third rounder, a second rounder? No, the Arizona Cardinals are going to want multiple first round picks, is what I'm trying to say. The Arizona Cardinals are going to want multiple first round picks, and I don't believe there's a fan, or I'm sorry, there's a team out there that is willing to give that up for Kyler. There's a team out there that's willing to give picks for Kyler, but maybe not with what we want, because of this year hasn't been good. His persona, his image has been tainted from this year, from the national media, from everything. At least that's my take on it. I could be very well wrong. And if the Arizona Cardinals do choose that route and they still keep Keim, then boy, we know what to do at that point, because this Arizona Cardinal organization just ain't right. And it is not a good look for players either. You choose a GM and a coach over your players. Good luck trying to find other players coming to your organization. Let me just tell you that. If you choose a GM and a coach over your player, your quarterback, franchise quarterback, good luck trying to find other players to come and play with your organization. At least those star players that you're going to need. Good luck, Cardinals, if you choose that route. And I don't think that's a route you guys want to choose. I don't want the Arizona Cardinals to choose that route. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Yes, there is teams that are going to want Kyler. I'm fully aware Kyler's still generational to me. But is he having a bad year? Yes. Is the media painting him to be an uncoachable, disgruntled player that doesn't like to hear anything? Yes. The media has painted it out. And the only person that can change that narrative, the only person, it doesn't matter if King J-Rock, Blade, AZ Cards, Mike Aide, Audrey, Mr. Doug came into the defense of Kyler Murray. It doesn't matter. It's all words. It's actions that are going to be needed to do. And who needs to do those actions? Kyler Murray. He's going to be the one that needs to be shutting up the haters. He's the one. Nobody's going to be able to change this narrative except for him. And this year just ain't it. This year just ain't it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, right? I mean, we got a very interesting offseason coming our way. I'm only hoping that the Arizona Cardinals are going to choose the route of taking a different path moving forward. I don't want to hear, injuries plague this team. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear Cliff Kingsbury go and Steve Keim stay. I don't want to hear that either. But one thing I know about this Arizona Cardinal organization is that disappointment is something that we know truly about as Arizona Cardinal fans. We know truly about that as Arizona Cardinal fans. Let's see here. Let's keep, I think we have enough for about 2 more comments, and then we're going to close shop here, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to hit our hour mark. What's up, Jean Paul? We got John Paul talking about Andy Isabella can't catch. My goodness. That's a name we don't want to bring back up. Sheesh. We got my guy Classy saying get rid of Kyler. My goodness. I'm not sure if I'm there yet. Let's see. ES Phoenix 626. What's up, brother? He says, okay, when it all fails, don't come on here talking about this is not it. We suck, blah, blah, blah. Fire the owner. I'm not sure if that might be for me. I'm not 100% sure. Or you might be communicating with people in the chat. Yeah, it's hard to read rogue chat or conversations because I know sometimes people have conversations within the chat amongst themselves. What's up, Seth? Appreciate you. He says, happy December. Oh, yes, it's December. Oh, my goodness, I forgot. Happy holidays, ladies and gentlemen, or at least the month of the holidays. Happy holidays. We are in December. December 1st is today. Jeez. Man, this last part of the year has completely came so quick. I can't believe that we're in our bye week already. And I can't believe next week we're going to be playing our last primetime game on Monday Night Football against the Patriots. Wow, how quick this season has come and gone. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. You can't fire the owner. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I know it's one of those things, right? And I know a lot of people are saying that, like, right, like we're not gonna go anywhere unless Michael Bidwell goes. But like, yo, if you know another billionaire, you know what I mean, on speed dial. I mean, I don't know no billionaires. Shoot, I don't know no millionaires. So I mean, like, there's even if like the top 5 people that put their money together in the Arizona Cardinal organization in terms of players, they're not going to be able to buy the Arizona Cardinals, right? You know what I mean? Like, realistically, think about this, right? Like, Michael Bidwell's not going anywhere. Like, whether we want him to or not, whether we want his family to sell because he absolutely sucks and the Bidwells have been completely trashed for this organization, right? Like, we know this, right? We haven't won garbage since we've been in Arizona. We haven't. Nothing. We haven't won anything. So I know a lot of us want him to sell. It's just there's no point in beating a dead horse if it's not going to happen, right? Billionaire. We're talking about billionaire, not millionaire. We're talking about billionaire. That's 1,000 millions. And he probably has, I don't know, if I'm only guessing, at least 6,000 millions, making it 6 billion. So I don't know. Who knows, right? We can't get rid of him. We can't get rid of him. What's up, No F's Kevin? He says, hey, Mike, Sion folks wrote a report that Peyton was with the Cardinals back in the day when we were at St. Louis. Oh, yeah, I saw something about that, right? Yeah, I saw something about that. I mean, would that give us a little bit of an edge? I mean, I guess, right? I know what you're talking about, though. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was all over Twitter that he was like, or it was on the Colin Cowherd show, right? That he was like was he like the ball boy? But like, yeah, he was with not the Arizona Cardinals, but the Cardinals organization football club. Yeah, for sure. So what's up, Seth? He says, we only have 2 primetime games left. Oh, that's right. We do play Christmas. Dang, I forgot we play Christmas too. Christmas and Monday night. You are right. The test is Brady on Chris. Shoo, Blade. you still think we have tests? Woo! Man, I think we had multiple tests this year. We absolutely fumbled it. I think we absolutely fumbled it. Any test that we might have. We had Fs on every test we had this year so far. With 4 wins, I think most fans right now are just trying to see what's the nearest draft pick we're going to get. I think that's what most fans are holding their hope at right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Brian, what's up, Brian? He says, all I want for Christmas is Sean Payton as the head coach. And Brian, love it. Love it. I love this, Brian. 100%, man. I'm right there with you. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We are hitting our hour mark on this live stream. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Big shout out to all the super chatters for today. Illadre, as well as the other super chat we had earlier today as well. Thank you so very much for everybody. Thanks for all the channel members, everybody that smacked the like button on this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are in December. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. As always, have a great rest of your day and go Cards.